Hello everybody, welcome into my latest live broadcast. Today is Monday the 10th of June 2019. I'm Carey Holzman, and let me just do a quick shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys so much for joining early, and please let me know if my audio and video are good. Hopefully the audio is in sync. I was in California this last weekend, did an interview with Brian Cometa over at $300 Data Recovery, with the theme of this interview being dispelling the myths and misconceptions about data recovery. Primarily, a lot of people believe that solid-state drives are not recoverable. That is completely false. In fact, many times hard drives can be unrecoverable. If there is platter damage, you're not getting that data back. And in much the same way, solid-state drives can be recoverable, and there are circumstances where they cannot be. Virtually identical to hard drives. Nothing. We're out of sync. Okay, hold on a second here. Hold on just a moment. Let me restart the broadcasting software. I'll be right back. Okay, let's try again and see if we're in sync this time. I was hoping that the latest version of OPS that I've installed would resolve the sync issues, but that's the first time it's happened in a few weeks. So let's take a look here and we'll wait. It takes about 90 seconds to 2 minutes before you guys get to hear what I said, and so we'll just wait a minute here for that to continue. I do hope that that resolves it. I don't know what else to do about this particular issue. People say it's in sync now. Very good, very good. Thank you guys. Yeah, so I was in California visiting with Brian Cometa over at $300 Data Recovery, with the theme being common misconceptions and myths about data recovery, primarily with solid-state drives. I also had, I brought with me if you recall a couple of years ago, I had a Seagate NAS unit, and it had 4 3-terabyte Seagate drives in it. And within the first 2 years, the 3 of the 4 drives failed. Not all at once. And I would send them back to Seagate one by one as they failed, and RMA them, and Seagate would send another one. So there was only one drive that was the original drive. And the last drive that failed, the RAID array had rebuilt, and then the system rebooted, and then the data wasn't there anymore. I was very confused because the rebuild was successful. Now, there's no data on the array that I needed to have. I did have some old work that I'd like to just archive, but it really didn't matter if I got it or not. So I took the drives out of the NAS and I put them in a shelf, put them on a shelf, put them in a cabinet, and left them there for a couple of years, thinking I'll get around to it one of these days. And since I was going to see Brian, Brian reminded me, he said, why don't you bring that RAID array if you still have it, and we can pull that data off of there for you. Well, Brian has such, first of all, equipment that I don't have and experience that I don't have, that he literally plugged the drives in pairs to check their health status and found that yet again another drive had failed, and that was the problem. So apparently a drive had failed while the RAID was rebuilding. The odds of that are extraordinarily low, but that seems to be what happened. So using the 3 working drives, he plugged them in, started his software, and all the data was right there. His software, it didn't matter which, I had the drives numbered, drive 1, drive 2, drive 3, it didn't matter. He just plugged them in. He goes, there's your directory. Does that look like it? I went, that's it. He goes, what do you want? I said, I just want that one directory. That's all. Copied it off. The whole thing took 6 minutes. It's amazing what you can do when you have the right equipment, the right tools, and you know how to use them. I had brought with me a little portable hard drive to copy the data off of, and it's painless, unbelievable. My initial plan was that I would use some recovery software like you guys might use. You might download a piece of software and try and recover that way. And it would require a motherboard that had 4 SATA ports spare available to plug all 4 drives in. And then, of course, I would have discovered the one drive wasn't working and holding everything up. So anyway, Brian made it look like it was nothing, no big deal, got the data back. And absolutely amazing the level of Brian's at a level in data recovery that, you know, I'm looking way up. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. So anyway, Brian's been doing that now about 10 years, and I haven't decided yet if I'm going to make one video out of our interview or if I'm going to cut the interview up into segments for each question and post them as $300 data recovery quick tips, you know, something like that. Give him a little shout out because he deserves it. It's an honest business. I don't know anybody that charges as little as he does. There's no money exchanging hands here. Just really like the guy, and I think he offers a really valuable service to the community. And the problem is people like that, they're not big corporations with big marketing budgets. So if you don't know they exist, you're probably going to overpay for data recovery somewhere else and probably not get his job done as well or by somebody who cares as much. So put that out there. Now, when I got back from the trip, I had a bunch of packages waiting for me. You guys blow me away, blow me away. So I want to talk about that just for a minute before we get started today. First of all, I got someone asked if I would autograph a copy of my book. I don't know why the book is being printed with a blank cover. That's really weird to me. This book is well out of date, obsolete. I'm not recommending you buy it. The cover is supposed to look like that. But this is from Alan. So Alan, I got your book. I will sign it for you and I'll send it back to you. Then I got a letter. This just arrived today. This is from, who is this from? I don't know who this is from. Hold on, it's got to say inside here. Oh, this is from Ronald, and he sends me a couple of postcards here. These are postcards from England. This looks like Dorset. And he says, Carey, thank you for sending me a case badge. It has a pride of place on my computer. Your videos were a good help in building it. My wife likes the Echeverria stamp on the envelope. They are one of her favorite plants. Best wishes, Ronald. Thank you, Ronald. So Ronald sent me this postcard and this postcard. And these are, this is Salcombe in Devon. And then this is Scythe in North Yorkshire. Very nice. Thank you for that. And a picture of his build. Of course, we got to share the picture of his build right there. Nice job. Good cable management there. Looks clean. Well done. I see the power is in your hands. Carey Holzman stickers on the side there. And then, of course, the Go Faster badge right up in that top corner. Right on. Well, thank you so much. It was very kind. Then a gentleman named Jason said he would like to send me some SSDs for future giveaways on the computers that we do for the disabled American veterans. And so I thought he was going to send me like one or two, and instead I got this box in the mail. And in this box, there's some RAM, Corsair Vengeance, which I like to use. There's two 16 gig kits of Corsair Vengeance, and rip jaws here. This is also 16 gigs. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these ADATA 240 gig SU655 brand new in the package SSDs. There's an EVGA 450 watt power supply, bronze rated, 80 plus. And there are two, I don't know what these are, Team L3 Evo SSD drives wrapped in bubble wrap, which bubble wrap is not necessary on a solid state drive, but that's all good. So we have parts to use when I buy some more off-lease computers to give away, because that was, you know, adding significantly to the cost. So Jason, thank you so much for sending that. Then I was really super shocked when I received a box. Somebody said something was on the way, and they didn't tell me what it was, but they knew it was something I wanted. And I just want to verify I've got the name right on this, because I'd be really embarrassed if I give credit to the wrong person. Give me just 1 second here. I thought I was prepared. I have to look back on my computer now to see. Pretty sure I know who this is from. This was from boy, it's bad getting back from a trip and my brain's not working. Yeah, this is from Jack Wilson, or John Wilson, you'll see in the chat room. So John Wilson has been a very big supporter of the channel, especially in the Vets giveaway. My mind went blank. I couldn't think of his name. That's really embarrassing because, you know, I feel like I know him. And John has been generous in his support of the channel. And I didn't know what he sent. He didn't tell me. He said, there's something you want that I'm sending to you. And it arrived while I was away on my trip. And what it is the microphone set. Now, this is not cheap. These run about $600. And I was saying that whenever I have a guest here, I have to use a cheaper microphone that's not as good of quality. And that if I have the money, I'll buy a second one of these, because this is what I'm using now. And I'll buy a second one because the new 4K camera has 2 separate microphone inputs. So all of you have made my day. Like, I need to go on a trip more often because that's amazing. All of this generosity has blown me away, and I can't thank you guys enough for all of your support, because this wouldn't nearly be the channel it is today, not only with you as viewers, but you as participants, people that support the channel and give in whatever way you give, whether that's through just sharing links or using the Amazon link when you make purchases on Amazon, or you're contributing via Super Chat or through PayPal, or you're sending me items for the giveaways or for use in making videos, which in this case, such as the microphone. Even the capture card that I use to capture well, not this capture card that I'm using on the 4K camera, but the other capture card when you see the computer screens, that was contributed by Colin in the UK. And what can I say besides thank you? It means the world to me. I thank you guys so much. So anyway, I have a repair that came in as scheduled. I talked about it last week. Built a computer for another fan of the channel. His name is Madi, and Madi lives in Florida. And Madi's a super guy, super nice guy, but he's not a real technical person. He bought a computer for me because he sees what I do, and he felt that this is a safe investment, you know, that this guy looks like he knows what he's doing and he's going to take care of me and I'm not going to have any problems. And unfortunately, he has a problem. And because he's so far away, it really couldn't help him over the phone because he just doesn't have the vocabulary, the technical vocabulary to understand what I'm asking him to do. So as a result, it was very difficult for him to explain what the problem was other than in, you know, regular consumer terms. And I was just kind of helpless other than to say, I need you to send it back. I need to see it. So that arrived today via FedEx. You know, I like to ship via FedEx because they do a very good job. It was packed by FedEx. It was packed very well. And it arrived as scheduled. You know, it could have arrived at any point today, and it arrived early this morning, which is great because it enables me to do the video sooner. And it arrived with it looks like one of these bays fell inside of it in the shipping. So we're gonna fix that right away. If that's hopefully the only issue with regards to shipping, that shouldn't even happen. So I don't know why. My guess is when they were packing it, they probably pushed on the front of the computer when they picked it up and probably pushed it in. I don't think it happened in the packing, in the shipping. I think it happened when they packed it. But that's okay. That shouldn't cause any harm. Michael Lee just contributed $14. He says, here's for Coke and snacks. Thank you, Michael. Michael Collis has contributed £9.99. He says, happy Monday, Carey. Thank you so much. I see Colin Hilton and John Wilson are in the chat, and John says, Carey, you deserve that microphone for all you do for others. Thank you, John. Jack. Of course, Jesse Kirk, I got to give a shout out to Jesse. He's also a very generous contributor. along with, there's more people than I can name, but the vinyl stickers, everything that Steve Boker makes, the contributions from Stephen Bernstein, guys like Peter Laycock and Dave Murray out there in Scotland. Sharon Idle, who's a frequent contributor and is a musician. You should check out her music. And I'm sure she is going to post a link. I hope she posts a link to her page. Tony Wallow, of course, Tony Wallow. And Tony's been very supportive, very supportive. Marlena Dvorak says, there's my favorite shirt. Well, of course, I wore it for you. What else? Michael Dane. I'll just give a bunch of people some shout outs here. Anders Jorgensen, Vern Mahoney, Art Vandelay, Stephen Huxtable, Babel Forever, Russ Franzen, Bo Hagren, Destry Ranzier, Darren Belmore, Russell Reynolds, Kyle Hettinger, Orlando Breve, Richard Quick, Steve Devine, Mick N. Bendecour, cannot forget Bendecour, Mats Rickardson, Gil Garcia, John Bannum. I have to tell you a story. While I was away, another contribution. Space Lord just contributed £2. He said, I'm on SSD, enjoy this for a Coke. Thank you so much. And it looks like 500 Swedish krona has come in from Heinrich Anderson. 500 Swedish krona. 500 SEK to you. I always have to convert it to figure out how big of a contribution it is. That's $53 US. Very, very generous. Wow, thank you so much. That's from Heinrich. Heinrich likes the shirt. Right on. What else? Michael Lee contributed $14. I said that. Michael Collis, Scott M., Tony Wallow started us with our first contribution of 99 cents. Scott M. contributed $4.99. Says, good afternoon, Carey and gang. I hope you're all having a great day. The Circuit Wizard contributed £2. He says, I've been watching for 10 years. Greetings from Portsmouth, UK. Thank you. Chester Hughes contributed $2. Zerian Art, Drawing Tutorials and Speed Paints has contributed $2 and said, I'm always listening to you while I'm drawing. Very cool. I would draw, but it wouldn't be good. It would look like a murder scene. Marty Yoel has contributed $10. Thank you, Marty. Donnie Seeger, $2. He says, what's up? And Michael Dane, a contribution of $10. He said, here's my contribution to help you with Vets Build. I have 2 more computers to give away for the veterans before I'm empty, and I'll have to work out some other deal with the folks over at Second Chance IT. So that'll be coming up in the near future. Thank you guys again. Thank you so much. Steve Devine says, here's $2, have a Coke and a smile. Right on. Where do you buy your shirts? I've had a link to them in the past. If you just type in Rockabilly shirt in Amazon or in Google search, they're pretty easy to find. They're a 1950s style Rockabilly shirt. Okay, so what was I talking about? I have completely lost my frame of mind. All right, so Marty had to send the computer back, which is always sad. If a computer has to come back to me, it's a personal failure on my part. Not that he's, expressed any sort of disappointment or anger. I mean, clearly he's disappointed, but I'm disappointed in myself. I can't imagine what have gone wrong. I think Marty is a smoker because it smells like cigarettes. That's okay. That's all right. Got my label on it, built January of 2019. The computers normally, you build them, you don't hear from a client for 8 years before they call you again for something. So this is very unusual, but it does happen. It does happen. We're going to fire it up and see what it does. That's the first step, right? The customer, Marty in this case, wasn't really able to express or describe the problem in a way that I could grasp it. So I need to see it. All About My Aquarium says, I love your videos, Carey. I was watching your videos so long that I know you like the back of my hand, man. Have a great time in your computer fixing adventure. I hope you have a great time. Nice. And John Yasuda's contributed $15. Coke and pizza after today's repair on me. I will take you up on that. Well, maybe not pizza. I had pizza last night, but I will definitely take you up on it. Thank you. Stephen Barber's contributed $2 and says, love your videos. You're the best. Well, I'll tell you what. That feels amazing. It feels amazing to have people believe in you. Thank you, guys. That means the world to me. All right, let me get some work done. So let's get the panel off and let's take a look. First of all, let's just look on the inside. Anytime a computer arrives from shipping, we want to just visually inspect it before we plug it in and turn it on, because if there's a short or if anything's not plugged in correctly, we could cause some damage or create worse damage than what's already there, whatever the problem is. So let's go ahead and pull this off and see what we got going on in here. We know that that panel should be in here somewhere. That missing front panel that was in here. It should be in here somewhere. Now I have in the video notes placed a link to part 1 of the original build video here and the parts list to what this computer is made up of, because I know those questions are coming, they always do. Where's the panel? The panel's pretty big, it really can't be missed. Oh. Wow. We're getting a bunch of first time stuff here. Never in my career have I ever seen a front panel. Look, one of the legs broke off. That would be understandable. I've seen that. If the leg breaks off of it right here, you see there's a leg right there. There's supposed to be another one right here, just like on the other side. There should be 2, which there is. And that would explain why it fell in, but why did it crack in half? Huh. Well, that's okay. I've got extras. That's no big deal. But it's just very interesting. Very interesting. Destry Ranziers contributed $20. Says, hey, Carey, I'm watching from Batam, Indonesia on a trip returning to the States today. Wow, very cool. We'll have a safe trip back. Matt Foster contributed £2. I said, I haven't donated for a while. Have a Coke on me. Well, cheers, Matt. Thank you very much. John Craig contributed £5. He said, that's okay, Carey. I lost mine years ago. Your front panel cover? Your mind? Your virginity? I don't know what we're talking about anymore. That is a bit of a problem when I put the delay on. The reason the delay is on is it enables something called DVR mode. And with DVR mode on YouTube, it means that if you're just joining, it doesn't really matter, but you can rewind the video back to the beginning. Even though this is live, the DVR mode enables you to rewind. You don't have to wait for the final video to do that. But as a result, it adds an extra delay between what I say and when you hear me. So some of the things you respond to, I may lose the context unless you sort of include what the reference is to what you're saying. Jim Jones says, Gary, you're awesome. I'm going to give you a 10. Yeah, you're awesome. Well, thank you. My name's not Gary, unless you were talking to somebody named Gary. But that's okay. I've been called a lot worse. Think of Cary Grant or Mariah Carey or Drew Carey or Jim Carey. My name is Carey. All right. What's my name? Say my name. All right, let's get some power on here and let's see what the problem is. Well, let's verify what's going on here. So we'll give it power. Make sure the switch on the power supply is in the off position. I need to get a keyboard and mouse, which I have over here. And we'll just plug that in right up here. We'll turn this on. Make sure the keyboard and mouse are turned on. And I need the HDMI cable to feed it into the video capture card. We'll plug that into his GTX 1060 down here. I'm going to get the screwdriver out of the way for right now so that I don't knock anything over. And let's flip the switch on. RGB on the board lights up. And let's go to, I was going to flip over, but let's see. Mark Kerr says hello from the UK. Hi, Mark. Justin Gaskills contributed $2. He says, I always look up to your real life advice. Thank you. Well, thank you. That's why I do it. I do it for the hopes that some people may be brought up without that brotherly figure or father figure or uncle figure in your life to help guide you or to help set an example. I hope to be that example for those people who need it. And for those people who don't, that's okay too. You know, you guys can roll your eyes at it or whatever, that's fine. But do understand there's many people in the world who, in my opinion, would benefit from a little sharing of experience from somebody. Not that that experience will be identical to something relatable, but that they can adjust it as need be to better their life or to be more likely successful in some foreign thing they're trying to achieve, something new to them. And so that they'll be more successful faster than I was, given that information. That's the concept. You know, they do say that people who don't make the mistakes, parents who teach their children not to make the mistakes they made, end up having children who make mistakes they didn't make, right? But there's no such thing as a perfect world, but I just hope that you go further and faster than I did. And if my information can help get you there, that's great. And if my information doesn't, you can get a full refund for what you paid for it. Okay, so let me switch over to the capture card here. Let's go right there. Okay, so now I'm up in the corner. No signal means the computer is off. It's not getting the video capture card. It's not receiving any signal yet. So let's hit the power button here. Fan is turning, fan is turning. All the fans are turning. Everything sounds normal. So far, everything looks good. There's our BIOS. Again, everything seems normal. Carey, do you fix or work on mice and keyboards as well as computers? No, because they're so inexpensive compared to the cost of labor. It's far cheaper and faster to buy a new keyboard and mouse than to pay somebody to fix what you have. So the first thing I see on the screen is it says a chassis intrude. Please check your system, fatal error. There's an option in the BIOS called TPM. It's the Trusted Platform Module. You'll never see me turn that on. It's generally in use in corporate America. Let me go back full screen so I can talk about this. It's generally in use in corporate America where employees can open up a computer, steal the RAM, and put it in their computer at home, or it's employee theft is what it is. So the TPM module that's built onto the BIOS enables you, if enabled, to secure the machine and let you know if it's been opened. When I worked at the power company here in Arizona called APS, we used to have to put security screws in the computers. They were a weird kind of a triangular shaped screw, and you only put one of them. You didn't change all the screws. Just the one screw on the panel, so the employees couldn't open it if they tried. And those bits weren't just handed out to anybody. Those bits that fit in there, you had to sign basically a contract accepting responsibility that you would not lose that bit, you would know where it was at all times, and that you were, you know, I always talk about the difference between hobbyists and enthusiasts, which is the primary source of videos on tech here on YouTube, versus a real working tech in IT. So this isn't something you're going to get from those other enthusiast channels, this kind of information. And that was how they combated that in the late 90s. Now today we've got this Trusted Platform Module, and that's really what it's for. It's not really intended for home users. Let's take a look here. Something's going on in my chat room. I see. Yes, Peter Brooks, please don't delete those messages. Sometimes my mods get a little heavy-handed. I see messages, they just don't seem to say anything and they're being deleted. That's not necessary. Oh, the machine just rebooted itself. Did you see that? Or did it? Was that, wait a minute. Maybe that's a delayed feed. Never mind. I'm getting confused because there's a delay. I have two videos that I see. I see my live video that's happening right now, and then I see the delayed video that you guys see. That's about 2 minutes behind. And I just saw the delayed feed boot to the ASUS logo on the BIOS page, and it freaked me out for a minute. I need to have two separate monitors. Don't send me another monitor. I don't have any place to put it. I'm just saying, when I get a studio, I'll have two monitors for that, so that won't be a problem. Okay, so anyway, let's go back to the input here, and it says there's a chassis intrusion. That's what it's supposed to say. Fatal error. So I need to get into the BIOS, so we'll hit reset and just tap delete over and over and over again. And we'll get us in, hopefully, into the BIOS. Now, anytime you have a BIOS error and you're not quite sure what to do, just return the BIOS to its default, which will always be an option. Now, interestingly, this is not allowing me to go in there. Let me try it one more time. Heinrich Anderson says, greetings from Sweden. Hello, Heinrich. Come on, come on. Well, it's not going to let us in. So here's what I'm going to do in this situation. I'm going to power the machine off with the power supply. I have to get my glasses because everything is so tiny on the motherboard. I want to read where the BIOS reset switch is. I'm sure it's on here. And let's go full screen while I'm doing this, so maybe you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. It's going to be hard for you to see because it's hard for me to see. There's a memory test. There's a power switch. Come on now. I know there's a BIOS resetting here somewhere. Now, I see something very interesting. There's a fan header up here, and the fan header is severely bent. It looks like it might be one pin hitting another pin. Now, I don't know how that would have happened, but that would be what we call a short. And a short like that could cause that error. It can cause all kinds of weird behaviors. So without me doing anything else, let me turn this back on and let me see if that makes any difference. Sometimes something that simple. There's a 4-pin fan header and pin 4 was bent and it looked like it was touching pin 3. It was severely bent and it's an unused header. So I just want to see if it makes any difference on the board. No, it does not. That's fine. I'm going to shut it back off. In fact, I'm going to get a flashlight. Go back to the main camera, and we're going to take a closer look at what's causing this. Now, what's going through my mind right now is you see me use a lot of Gigabyte boards, more than ASUS. Now, with this ASUS board, or ASUS, people think it's like Pegasus, it discourages me from wanting to use an ASUS board in the future because this is a problem that I've not experienced with a Gigabyte board. And even though this may be a fluke, it may be a one-off, I wouldn't want to risk it. You know what I mean? So you'll probably see a lot more Gigabyte boards for this reason. And then if a Gigabyte board were to pull a stunt like this, you'll probably see me switch to something else. I don't know. But this is very discouraging. So right here is a header. Right down here, it says TPM. That's the Trusted Platform Module header that you're supposed to plug the TPM module into that can detect if the chassis has been opened. There's nothing hooked up on this board connected to the chassis, so it shouldn't be possible for it to say that there's a chassis intrusion when nothing's plugged into that TPM header. So I'm looking to see if any of the pins are touching each other. They are not. I'm looking at all the pins to make sure they're all straight. I see there's a clear TC, which I think may be the BIOS. Let's take a look here. Everything looks good. Visually, I don't see anything obvious other than that bent pin up here that was up there. See the jumper in the upper corner. I don't know what that one does. So what the customer said, just to give you an idea, customer said, I can't get past the BIOS. He was never in the BIOS. What he was trying to say was he couldn't get past the boot screen. He couldn't get past the post. The computer will not post. A post, P-O-S-T, is a power on self-test. The computer is not passing the power on self-test. Now, it doesn't change anything. If Madi would have called and said the right terminology, which is not his responsibility, he's not a tech, he's a customer. It's my responsibility to interpret him. Again, this is something you don't see on the enthusiast and hobbyist channels. This is what you have to do as a real technician. This is part of what comes with the job. But let's just say Madi was technically savvy and said, Carey, I cannot get the computer past the post. I'd say, nothing I can do, clear the BIOS. Now, I can't tell you how to clear the BIOS on this. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to look it up. But again, if Madi was technically savvy and pulled the cover off and reset the BIOS, maybe he wouldn't have to send it in. We don't know yet until I clear the BIOS and see. But what I'm trying to get at is, if he was sort of in between and he could say, hey, I can't get past the post, the answer would have still been the same. I need you to box it up and ship it to me. That's the reality of it. Even though the fix may be as simple as jumping a couple of pins to reset the BIOS, which I would hope. But the problem there is, because I don't know how it happened, how do I know it will not happen again? And then I have to ship it back and just wait. So when you're dealing with somebody locally, it's a pain in the butt locally. Imagine having to ship back and forth 2,000 miles or 2,300 miles, whatever it is. Let's see, it looks like a contribution from Gerard has come in, and that is 50 Indian rupees, which is about 72 cents. But regardless, I do appreciate every contribution, big or small. It means the world to me, and thank you, Gerard, for participating and contributing to the channel. Sharon wants me to ban somebody. Banned. You got it, Sharon. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. Now, removing the battery still works. I don't see a battery on here. It may be behind the video card. I do not see a BIOS battery on here at all. That's what I was looking for. Because typically the jumper to short the BIOS is by the battery. Now, one of the things I feel like I need to do is remove some unnecessary items from the computer to help the diagnostic. So what do I mean by that? We don't need this Wi-Fi card and we don't need this GPU. We can run off the onboard video. If either of these are causing a problem, we'll know because the machine will boot. If they're not causing a problem and the machine behavior stays the same, I can now see the entire board without these two items blocking what could be a CMOS battery or jumper to reset the BIOS. Make sense? So let's take care of that now. Make sure the power supply is off. Better yet, unplug it. Working on a computer that's plugged in is profoundly dangerous. And I know the advice on the internet is to be quote unquote grounded. That is so dangerous. I hope nobody gets electrocuted, because that's all going to come to an end real quick the first time somebody gets electrocuted. If you're not grounded, you're less likely to be electrocuted. This idea that it's more important that you're worried about static shocking your motherboard than killing yourself. That's a weird priority to me. If you don't want a static shock, if you're worried about electrostatic discharge, touch something metal, preferably unpainted, that's part of your computer, that puts you on the same electrical level as everything else in your environment. It has nothing to do with an earth ground. An earth ground is required to complete a circuit. When you're being electrified and you become part of a complete circuit, you stay that way. Your muscles will contract and you will not be able to release yourself. You will stay like that indefinitely until you die, if there's enough voltage, unless you have some very lucky spasm or control that you are able to let go. You don't want to be in a circuit. All right. It's basic electronics 101, folks. It's frightening to me, some of the really bad advice I see coming from hobbyist enthusiasts and how people believe it. Man, scary, scary, scary. I don't want to see you get hurt. Now, when you're inside of the computer, everything being delivered from this side of the power supply is 12 volts, 3 volts, or 5 volts. That's not, it might wake you up a little bit, but it's not going to kill you. But on the other side of the power supply, if something goes wrong, well, I hope you did everything you needed to do in this life, because that's, at the very least, it will, if you do it once, I promise you won't do it twice. Let me put it that way. So even if it's something that just knocks you on the ground, or even if it's something that doesn't permanently hurt you, it's nothing you will do twice. So my advice to you is don't do it the first time. All right, that's all I'm saying. Okay, let me get this graphics card out first and foremost. Let's pop the 1060 out of here. And then let's get the Wi-Fi card out. Now let's fire it back up. Yeah, there's the BIOS battery right there. You know what? Let's pop the battery out too. Let's just take care of everything while we're here. And I want to check the health of this battery. I'm going to go grab my battery tester. Now, yes, people will say you're not supposed to touch the battery with your fingers because it gets oil on it and it slowly erodes the battery over time. But these batteries last for years. And they're very inexpensive and they're very easy to change. And if you really, really are OCD about it, you can get some nitrile gloves and rubbing alcohol and clean the battery, make sure it's nice and dry, and place it back in. But I do this all the time. It's no big deal. And here, put the battery in the tester. Battery's good. That battery is a CR2032. All computers use those. So does your remote for your car, probably. Your garage door opener. Very common battery. Always good to have those laying around the house because their shelf life, if they're left in a package, is probably about 12 years. Sharon says, I think Steve Devine is in love with me. Oh, look, it's the dating game. Alan Butterfield's contributed £4.99. He says, that's a very interesting diagnosis. It could well be a short on the board or a mounting screw flying about. Absolutely. I put it together so I wouldn't do that, but everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has a bad day. Tom Jackson contributed $7.77. He says, thanks for all you do. Thank you, Tom. And that 50 Indian rupees, that came from Gerard DeMonte. I don't think I said his name before, so thank you, Gerard. John Wilson says, I was wondering why this was going on with no side panel switch. The show had been taken off. With no side panel switch. Oh, yeah, right, exactly. Right, how can it tell me there's been a chassis intrusion when there's no chassis intrusion switch on this case? You'll see that on some Dells or other pre-built machines. You might see a switch that when you put the panel on, it pushes the switch in. That's what that's for. Though the trusted platform module can be much more sophisticated than that, but that's okay. We're not really dealing with that here on this channel because it's more of a corporate IT problem. John Peck has contributed £2, and of course, thank you, John. And Dimitri says, hello from the Netherlands. William Dawson says, I have that same motherboard where the reset is located according to the manual. Roy Marr says, I don't want to be rude, but this guy is not that smart. I want to address that. I'm not here to impress you or to compete with you. I'm here to teach you. If you're here to learn, you're welcome to stay. If you already know all this, you're welcome to leave. This is not a competition. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how dumb you are. I don't care what gender, what race, or religion that you follow. The only thing I care about is that you're not a jerk. So if you have impulse control and you feel the need to explain how superior you are to other people, or how other people are beneath you, you can either leave, you can either stop, or you can leave, or do it again and get kicked out. This is a supportive community here on the internet. And what it's important in this community is that we are kind to each other. And those kind of thoughts you need to keep to yourself, or you can go. It's critical because the internet's a big place. And as far as I know, a supportive community on the internet doesn't exist other than this space right here. And I will not allow you or any individual to poison the well of this community. Now, that being said, let's get back to what we were doing. So I've got the BIOS has been reset by now, so I'm going to put the battery back in. Whoops. And then we're going to put power back in. Again, the switch remains off on the power supply during this. And then I'm going to plug the HDMI cable. Maybe I'm not. Where is it? I put a plug in there, so I do this now so customers don't plug their monitors into the wrong video card. So we'll plug that into the motherboard now, since we're going to use onboard video. And then we're going to flip the switch on, we're going to turn this back on, and then we'll go back over to the capture card and see what it says. G. White has contributed $2. He said, survived grabbing 220 volts and I'm very lucky. Yeah, I would say you are. All right, let's see what happens. We're going to boot up, I hope. Please enter setup to recover the BIOS, F1 to run setup. Okay. Remember, if you don't know the way the BIOS is supposed to be configured, just choose the default settings. So in this case, down here at the bottom of the screen, it says advanced mode F7. So I can hit F7 on the keyboard or click this with the mouse. That puts us into the advanced mode. And then we can go to, was it under exit? Load optimize defaults. That's what I want. Hit enter. And it says, are you sure? Yes. Click OK. And then we'll go to save changes and reset. And then click OK. Now, ideally, the machine will boot up properly now. Now, if you recall last week, I said whatever the problem that Madi was having was probably going to be something very simple. Even a failed component, which, I can't control if a power supply dies, right? I make the best decisions I can, and even the best manufacturers get bad products every now and again. But even the power supply would be incredibly simple to repair, or to replace rather. We just swap it out. And there's only 7 components in here when you think about it. There's the power supply, the storage device, the RAM, the CPU, the motherboard, and an optical drive. And the optical drive wouldn't cause this problem. So that's all you're diagnosing. It's one of those parts. Now here it says reboot and select a proper boot device. Now that suggests to me that it's not seeing the storage device for some reason. So we're going to discuss that here in a minute. Mike Britton has contributed $10. He said, hello, Carey from God's waiting room. I love your show and all the information and skill you've shown us. Thank you for everything you've taught us. So there's a joke about that, where there's a lot of people who retire in Florida, and they go there to die. A lot of people, like in New York, they work really hard. They earn enough money that they can leave New York and they go somewhere warm and sunny to live out their final years. And it's typically Florida, which I call God's waiting room. So that's why I'm laughing, because you must be in Florida. Mike Britton contributed $10. He said that. Thank you for the laughter. Thanks for the contribution. And he says thank you to me for everything you've taught us. That's cool. Let's take a look here. Charles Hall says it looks like it might be set to AHCI instead of UEFI. Oh, that's possible. That is very possible. Let's take a look. Let's hit reset on the case, and we'll go into the BIOS. Typically, just most newer motherboards default to UEFI. Some still default back to SATA mode, or let's take a look here. XMP is disabled. Oh, it is a SATA drive. It is a SATA. No, that's not it. Where's the M.2 drive? I don't see it. Boot priority. I don't see the M.2 drive listed. Do we have an M2 failure? Is that possible? I've never seen an SSD. I have not experienced any customer bring me a machine with an SSD failure. No SSD I have ever installed has ever failed. I have seen and heard of SSD drives that other people installed or other people have emailed me and told me about. But I've never had a customer bring me a machine with a failed SSD, nor has any SSD I've ever installed in the history of installing SSDs, which started about 6 years ago. None of them have ever failed. Could this be the first one? I don't know. That's not to say they don't fail. I've yet to see one fail. Anyone over 50 is in God's waiting room. I am 54, so I can say this. Yeah, if only that were true, right? If all those people that have been killed by drunk drivers and jaywalking and hit by cars and cancers and other diseases, young children. Technically, using that logic, we're all in God's waiting room. It's just a question of time. For some of us, that time is shorter. And for some of us, that time just seems like it's a lot longer. All right, so anyway, let me focus on what I'm doing here. Where is my M.2 drive? Let's go into advanced mode. Let's take a look at what we see. Target CPU, blah, 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 blah. Don't care. PCH storage configuration, Intel RST. I don't think I want Intel RST, I want AHCI. I bet that's what the problem is, which what you guys basically said, make sure AHCI is on. And Intel RST, which is rapid storage technology, was turned on by ASUS by default. Gigabyte doesn't do that I'm aware of, so that's sort of a surprise. Let's save changes and exit, just making one change. You make too many changes and it works, you don't know which of those changes was the problem. So one change at a time. One change at a time. You've got to be patient. And it says no difference. It's not booting. That's okay. Don't get frustrated. This is a process of elimination. Everything that you check is one less thing you have to check later. And there's a finite number of things that you can check. There's only so many things. So you will work your way to the end, or at least to the solution, whichever comes first. So let's take a look back over to boot, and let's see what it's booting to. Normal boot. It does see boot option 1 as the Intel SSD, so this has the 660p, which is correct. Let's see if secure boot is turned on, because I do not want it turned on. Secure boot state. Let's try Windows UEFI mode and see if that makes a difference. Don't suspect it will, but I'm going to try it anyway. Even things you don't think are going to work, you have to try everything. You can't just assume, or you're not going to get anywhere. So we're still stuck with the same situation. Now, I'm assuming that the customer did not wipe out this drive in their attempts to fix it. I don't know. I'm assuming that this is a bootable drive the way that I configured it, but I could be wrong. Because from what I'm seeing, it should boot. It does see the drive. The drive has not failed. So I'm maintaining that I have yet to see an M.2 fail. I don't know why that's on X2 mode. It should be on X4 mode. This is NVMe. You know, this ASUS BIOS, I have got to tell you, I think Gigabyte is far superior. There's too much granular settings here that will get people in trouble. Chassis intrusion support. Somebody had turned that on. See here? On or off. That was turned on at some point. Now, since we reset the BIOS, it's remained off. But that's where that setting is. Boot configuration. NVMe support, that should be fine. Easy mode. I want it to go into advanced mode by default, so I don't have to keep hitting F7. But that doesn't change anything with regards to the issue. What am I missing? Shouldn't have to deal with any of the core voltages. You should just leave all that to default settings unless you're into overclocking, in which case you don't need to hear from me about it. If you don't know what overclocking is, then then you don't have to worry about it. Easy flash utility. Maybe there's a new BIOS set I can look for. I don't know. Let's save that and exit and see what it does. It does look like the drive might have been erased. I don't know. We're going to try one more boot up here, and then I'm going to try and boot up from Windows Media. So if I was building this computer brand new, this would be our first boot, and I would say everything we built is working. The drive appears to have been erased. That's what I'm guessing right now. So I've got a Windows 10 boot media, which would be the next step. When you see me do builds, this is the message I want to see if I have built everything correctly. I'm going to turn this back off. And then we're going to plug this back in, turn it back on. Now, when you're in business for yourself, and if this drive appears to have been erased and those BIOS settings were changed, there would be a decision you would have to make. It's booting off the flash drive right now. There would be a decision you would have to make as to whether or not you would bill the client for something that would not be a warranty issue. If the client went in there and was messing around with stuff and they caused this problem, that means I didn't build anything wrong. They should have left it well enough alone, and they would pay for the labor to fix what they caused. Now, I don't know if that's the case. And people have to learn, you know, when you do things that result in a failure, if that's what's happened, and I don't know, then they learn not to do that anymore. So usually I would say, I'm not charging you anything this time. But if you do it again, I'm going to charge you. And if you do it again, I'm going to charge you more. And if you do it again, I'm going to charge you more. And I'm going to keep charging you more until you stop doing that. I think that's just the best way to teach the client, you know, leave it alone. There's no reason a client should ever have to go into a BIOS on a system I build. When I build a computer for you, you plug it in and you use it. That's it. You install the software you want, and if things don't work right, you do not, and I repeat, you do not go into the BIOS for any reason. It will not solve any problem you're having. Now, for all I know, this customer did nothing. This is very possible. So I'm not going to accuse the customer of doing something, but it appears that that's what's happened. That's all I'm saying at this point. But let's find out by seeing if anything's on this BIOS, on this hard drive. So we'll click Next, Install Now. We'll say I don't have a product key here. And I always install Windows 10 Pro. And accept the license agreement. And let's see if it sees, always do custom. The drive is wiped. That is a completely wiped drive. So this customer somehow wiped out all of the Windows 10 partitions. When Windows 10 is installed on this drive, there'll be 4 partitions, not 1. If it's not in UEFI mode, there'll be 2 partitions. But as you can see, this drive only has a single partition. This is an Intel 660p 1 terabyte drive. The only way the customer could have done this is by maybe trying to install Windows 10 again and wiping their own data out. So I have to delete this single partition. That means the customer is going to lose whatever is on there. I don't know if Madi is watching, but I don't take deleting a partition lightly. If there's data on this drive, it's possible to retrieve the data by removing the drive and putting it into one of those enclosures I showed you, the NVMe to USB enclosure. That would be a good way to recover data, just copy it off. I'm sort of stalling right now. I'm hoping Madi is watching, and I'm hoping Madi tells me it's okay, there's nothing on the drive that I want. So I'm waiting in the chat room for Madi. Madi, if you're out there, what I need to know is it okay for me to erase this drive? Do you have any data on this drive that you need saved? I need to know now before I continue. Now, any technician that doesn't ask you that, to me, is doing you a disservice. And most, if not all, repair shops have a disclaimer that says they are not responsible for your data, that they're going to do whatever they have to do to fix your computer, and they are not responsible for data. You're supposed to have backups. For all I know, Madi has backups. I just don't know. Because I don't know, I want to ask him, is this going to be okay? So I'm sort of still stalling, hoping Madi is watching and that he'll respond to me here in the chat room that I have a copy, it's okay. That's exactly what Madi just said. So we're going to delete the partition. Now, whenever you're installing Windows and you want to install it fresh and clean, and it's not a brand new hard drive or a brand new solid state drive, let's say it's used, then you would follow the same procedure. You would select every partition on that drive. So in this case, it's drive 0, and you will delete it. And you will do that as many partitions until you have no partitions left. And it'll just say the drive number, in this case, drive 0, and it'll say unallocated space. Now you have completely and irrevocably removed every bit of data from that drive, essentially. Not to a secure standpoint. Data could still theoretically be recovered. This is not reversible, generally speaking. Do not do it lightly. But that drive, when it says one partition or just says drive 0, and it just says unallocated space and there's nothing else there for drive 0, that is effectively putting it back into the condition it was when it was brand new out of the box. It is wiped, reset. There is no partition, there's no format. You could stick that in a Mac right now, you could put Linux on it, whatever you want to do. It is brand new, just the way it came out of the box when you unwrapped it for the very first time. That's how you reset a used hard drive. If it's a new hard drive, when you boot to Windows, this is what it's going to look like the first time you install Windows. That's how you do that. But don't do it lightly. You do not go backwards from this. This is irreversible. We're going to go ahead and click Next, if I could find the right mouse. We'll click Next. Now, Windows is going to create those 4 partitions right now. It's going to format those 4 partitions, and it's going to install Windows 10. Everything happens automatically. It's that simple. Now, my advice for people, if you want a working computer, leave it alone. It's okay to install whatever software you want to install. Just be sure the software is safe. You're not just downloading willy-nilly free stuff off the internet or BitTorrent. The more you install, the more likely you are to have a problem or a conflict with something else you installed. It's not a novelty for most people. This is a serious machine. It shouldn't be something that's toyed with, unless you have like an image backup that you can always recover from. And that way, say you're experimenting with some piece of software, you can do that on your machine with a recent image that you can recover the image from. My advice would be just use it. In other words, when you buy a car, drive the car. Take care of the car by putting gas in it, changing the oil. But do not attempt to improve the car by opening up the hood and cutting some wires or changing out components. I see people put on these cold air intake filters on a brand new car, and what they're doing is they're messing with the electronic computer on the car because it wasn't programmed for that, and they lower their horsepower significantly, and they think they've improved it, and they like how it looks under the hood. And they drive the car for years, never really understanding how much damage they've caused to the car. And they spent money, a lot of money, to buy these cold air intakes. Putting a cold air intake on a modern car without taking it to have the engine, the ECU reprogrammed for it. But by the way, having your ECU reprogrammed on top of the cost of the part and the labor to install it, even if it's your own time, will result in very little difference in improvement in the car once it's all said and done. But if you just leave it alone the way the engineers designed it, you'll have a very, more than likely, statistically, you'll have a very reliable car. That's not always the case, but it doesn't help when you're creating the problems, right? So anyway, that is the lesson here. And I did know that this was going to be something simple. So what I'm seeing is BIOS settings that were messed with, and then an operating system was attempted to be reinstalled, and it looks like was not reinstalled correctly. Windows has the ability to Windows 10 has the ability to reinstall itself without having to boot from any media. It's an option within Windows 10 that you can reinstall the operating system fresh and clean and wipe out all your data and programs, or you can reinstall the operating system keeping your data and programs. You never ever need to boot from the boot media ever again, and you just have to use the options that are there. And in all the time I've ever used Windows 10, I've never had to do a reset of Windows 10. Never, ever, ever. Nor has any customer. This is a first. This is an absolute first. So my best advice to Madi when you get this back is you use your keyboard and your mouse within Windows to do whatever you want to do. Do not try and do anything outside of Windows. That means don't go in the BIOS unless you know exactly what you're doing, or you may wind up right here again. Don't attempt to reinstall Windows, because you should never have a need to ever have to do that. And we'll chalk it up as a lesson. We learned from it. We move on. It's not a big deal. It really isn't a big deal, other than the unnecessary expense and time of shipping this back and forth. Obviously, if I was in Florida, I could just go over to Madi's house. I could have done this on site and left. It would have been a couple hours of work. Unfortunately, it's 5 days shipping, business days, getting this computer from him to me, and then from me back to him. That's 2 weeks. But you'll see there was nothing wrong. No component failed. Everything's working as it's supposed to work. Because I wasn't there to see what was the catalyst that led him down this path, I don't know. But I can tell you, it was completely avoidable. No matter what it was, this was made worse by the customer. I always tell customers, when you're having a problem, like a serious problem, you need to contact me immediately. Do not attempt to fix it yourself, because when you do, you often make it worse, and you take a very simple problem, in many cases, in my experience, and you make it a big, complicated problem. So instead of taking 5 minutes to fix something, now it's going to take a couple hours. So I had to reset the BIOS, and I have to reinstall Windows. I shouldn't have had to done either one of those things. I should have been able to fix whatever led him down that path, so that he would have never been in the BIOS, and he would have never had to reinstall Windows. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. The benefit of this is the educational value that it brings. This isn't meant to put anybody down. This isn't meant to do anything other than use it as a learning experience. We've got 1,230 people benefiting from one person's mistake. And I think that's a mistake worth making. Now, and I want to emphasize this, I have no proof that the customer did this. it is entirely possible that some sort of weird voltage spike or something corrupted the data on the drive and the BIOS. That is entirely possible. It is also very unlikely. So I'm not going to sit here and say for certain this was customer caused, but more than likely it was customer caused. More than likely. All right, so we're in the United States. Whoops, got to use the right mouse, Carey. Let's go over here, United States. With a US keyboard, no secondary layout. I'm just going to say I don't have internet for right now. Continue with limited setup. We'll put Madi's name in here. No password. I said no. Decline that. Again, when you're at this screen and you can scroll up and down, or you can hold the control button on your keyboard and roll the mouse wheel towards you. That'll shrink the screen down so we can see every option without having to scroll. I like to turn all these things off. I have found that turning off the location setting is kind of a bad thing because it won't auto set the time zone anymore. It'll be with the Arizona time zone, probably. So when Madi gets it, he'll wonder why his clock is off, and then he'll have to either adjust the clock manually, which is fine. When you set the location setting on, it will use your IP address to determine where you're located and then set your clock automatically. Now this can cause havoc if you're running a VPN and your VPN is in another country, and it'll set your clock automatically to that country's time. So be aware of that. We'll accept those settings. Now in theory, once I get all the Windows updates and drivers installed, this will go right back to FedEx and right back out to Madi, and he should get it Monday or Tuesday. Well, it won't be Monday. Well, it could be Monday or Tuesday next week. We can look to see if there's a newer BIOS version available for this motherboard. Might as well, since I've got it. And while that's waiting, I'm going to grab an Ethernet cable so I can plug into the internet to grab those updates from Windows Update. And let's see, I don't need this Windows Media installation anymore. Plug the Ethernet in. And then we're going to go to Windows Update. Tiesto is the man. Good old Tiesto. So people who like electronic dance music, that's what we're talking about in the chat room. I learned of an event going on in Utah, which has been going on for years, and because I'm old, I've only just learned about it, but it's called Das Energy, E-N-E-R-G-I. And it looks like a really fun electronic dance music festival. It looks like a little tiny Burning Man in Utah. But I feel like if I go, I'll be the oldest one there. What's wrong with that? I don't know. Just people be looking around going, one of these things is not like the other. Let's see. Carey, have you ever used the Windows 10 debloater? No, I don't find a need for it. I don't really believe Windows 10 has much in the way of bloat. Windows 10 is very fast, a very responsive operating system. For businesses, I will manually remove the games, Candy Crush and Solitaire, the Xbox Live and the phone thing, but they come off in seconds. So I don't feel the need to, you know, run a deep loader on Windows 10. Mods, please don't hide people in my chat room unless they're being vulgar or spamming. I don't think funny dog moments should have been hidden. When should I remind you again in your email about my video? I'm sorry, I've been very, very busy. I just haven't had time. I'm not ignoring you on purpose. Remember, I have paying customers all waiting and they get my priority. I appreciate what you've done, and I'm not sure your video is appropriate for my channel, but I really haven't had time to really look at it. Just going through some of the comments in the chat while we're waiting for the updates. I have to use the right mouse though. That much I know. Let's retry. When you see me grab updates and they fail, it's because Windows 10 is automatically grabbing updates in the background. And then when I force it to check for updates, it's duplicating some of those updates at the same time. And whichever one gets installed first, the second one fails. So it's a matter of being patient and just plugging in Windows and using it. These updates happen automatically in the background, but I'm not patient. I want it done now. And so I have to hit the retry button every once in a while. It's no big deal. Carey, did you hear Xbox made their own body wash and deodorant? No, I didn't hear that, but I've met a lot of gamers that could use it. Have they done anything to encourage people to use it? I had forgotten that E3 was going on in Los Angeles while I was in California. It's a good thing because I would have gone. And there's a Cyberpunk 2077 game coming out, and it's got Keanu Reeves is in it, and it looks like it's going to be a great game. Also, the new Halo, the trailer for that is out, and I love Halo. That's one of my favorite all-time games is Halo. Love it, love it, love it. The original Halo. So hopefully this one will be good. We'll see. But yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 looks good. The Ace B52 says, thank you, Carey, for a live stream. Great teacher. Thank you for being a great student. Spidosol says, I had an SSD that failed. I can send it to you to troubleshoot because I don't need it anymore. Maybe you can make a video from it. Well, there's nothing I can do. Did E3 already happen, or is it, because I see the trailers are released. I think it was this, when is E3? Maybe it wasn't happening while I was there. I assumed it was because all the trailers are being... I got to type it in the wrong keyboard. June 11th through the 13th. Okay, so that happens tomorrow through Friday. That's good. Then I don't feel so bad. So I missed E3 by a couple days. But that's a good thing, because if I had gone to E3, no work would have gotten done at all. Anyway, no, there's nothing I can do with a failed SSD. That's more Brian Cometa over at $300 Data Recovery. That's his wheelhouse. Again, I'm not saying SSDs don't fail. I'm saying I've never had one that I've installed fail, and I've never had a customer contact me for a computer repair that involved a failed SSD. It's never happened. To this day, it has never, ever happened. Remember, I'm very specific over the brands I use, and I install my drives in a certain way. I think if you repeat exactly what you see here on this channel, from the brands to the installation methods, you should also have a similar experience. When people are buying, when they're racing to the bottom to buy the cheapest thing, to buy brands that aren't as well known for quality or support, because you want to save a couple of bucks, I think these are the SSDs primarily that people have that are failing. Now, there are Samsung SSDs that fail, but it's very rare. Bill Ottinger's contributed $1. Thank you, Bill. At Microsoft, keep your PC healthy. What? How about no? Okay. What is going on here? Pending restart. Oh, we're installing right here. Of course, I got to run Uncle Carey's Windows 10 Optimizer, which I have here, and we'll be running that here shortly. Uncle Carey's Windows 10 Optimizer is a small utility that I worked with Nick Shaw over at D7X Tech to design a very small, quick, portable utility that optimizes Windows 10. It doesn't customize Windows 10. I've had a lot of people ask me, can you add this to your tool? No, I'm not customizing Windows here. All I'm doing is turning off certain things like indexing, hibernation file, unless it's a laptop, which the utility will automatically recognize and set those defaults accordingly if it's a laptop. It puts the My Computer icon on the desktop. It changes the default control panel look, because to me, that's optimization. To get to the control panel option I want quicker. It shows me all of the extensions and file names, which are hidden by default. It shows me all the system utilities running by the clock, which are currently hidden. You see that little up arrow down here on the right corner? That tells you there's other items that are hidden, and when you click on it, it'll show you the hidden items. I don't want Windows hiding anything from me, so that'll change that option. It will change the boot delay, so there's no boot delay for mechanical hard drives. If you're still booting from a mechanical hard drive, you need to leave that setting alone. Anyway, it's just a quick and dirty little utility that it consistently sets every computer identical, which I was doing anyway by hand here on video, and you can do it by hand too. It's not doing anything magical. But if you just want to be able to hit one button, hit apply, and let it make all those changes and restart, it's a $10 utility. The link for it is in the video notes below this video, and it is custom made to my request, to my demands, by the genius that is Nick Shaw over at D7X Tech. If you guys have any problems getting the download link, you need to contact the good folks at D7X Tech, and they will assist you. They're the ones selling it. I'm not selling it. I'm branding it, and it was built with my specifications. And we're working together in the sense that he's developing the software, selling the software, and supporting the software. And I'm telling him what the software needs to be to meet my needs. And you can brand it with my logo. And I'm here to tell you, you're going to see me use it. And you're going to see it a lot on the channel, which also happens to be marketing. But it's not my purpose to market it. It's my purpose to make you aware that it exists and to explain what you're seeing on the screen and why. All right, let's restart. Oh, thank you, Lyle. Back to Windows Update. We're going to again continue to go back to Windows Update every time we restart until it says there are no more updates available. What you doing, boy? So while we're waiting, it looks like we have some attention dogs here. Attention hogs or attention dogs? Which one is it? What's up, Jimmy? What's going on, my boy? There he goes. And he's off. That's their excitement for today. All right. How are we doing here on this install? Let's take another look. Still installing. I want to look and see if there's a BIOS update for this board. This is an ASUS Prime 370A2. Support, drivers and tools. BIOS says it's 0801. Which I do believe is newer. So I'm going to go ahead and download that BIOS on the streaming computer. You can't see me do it because I'm streaming on this computer and it has to involve a different capturing effect, which I can do, but it's a pain in the butt. So I'm just going to do that and copy the BIOS file onto a portable flash drive that's blank. So let me grab that, put it over there. All right, so now I've got the BIOS on this blank flash drive that I've labeled as BIOS. I always put BIOSes on that. And after I install them, I erase them. And we're going to do that next. Winston Anglews contributed $2 Canadian. He said, Jimmy's waiting for a Toronto Raptors to win today. Is that what he's doing? Okay. I don't think Jimmy watches hockey because his little paws can't work the remote. So I'm just sitting here waiting for this cumulative update to Windows 10 to finish, and then we'll probably restart one more time, and then I'll go ahead and install the BIOS, or update the BIOS. There we go. There's our wanting to restart right now. We'll hit that. The Raptors are basketball? Seriously? You're messing with me right now, right? Canada's not really known for basketball. Just saying. Okay. Whatever. Go sports. One more time on Windows Update. I just want to make sure we've got everything. They're verifying it's basketball. I'll be darned. Canadians and basketball. I've seen everything now. I would have assumed if you'd have told me it was a curling team, I'd have believed you. All right, let's close this out. Let's shut it down and let's do the BIOS update because clearly sports is not my wheelhouse. The machine off, I'm going to take the USB stick, which has the BIOS update, place it in any USB port on the computer. Turn it back on, and I will repeatedly hit the delete key on the keyboard. until the BIOS comes up. There it is. And we're going to go to the tool option. We'll select the ASUS Easy Flash 3 utility via storage device. So just hit enter again. And we should see right here, this small storage device is the USB drive right here. Oops, right there. That's our BIOS. Do I want to read the file? Yes. Do you really want to update the BIOS to 0801? I do. And down at the bottom of the screen, it says it's processing, and just sit and wait. Do not touch anything. Do not touch the keyboard. Do not touch the mouse. Do not touch yourself. Just walk away if you have to. Leave it alone. Don't shut it off. Don't become impatient. The machine needs to be left alone. The BIOS update is very safe if you leave it alone. We're going from version 0602, which is our current installed version, to 0801. Now, some people think you shouldn't update the BIOS unless you have a problem. I would rather update the BIOS so you don't have the problem that requires a BIOS update. That's my philosophy. Catherine says RST has to be updated first. Shouldn't. We're not using RST. So whether or not it's updated, there's a security fix for the rapid storage technology. We're not using rapid storage technology. However, that should happen automatically. I'm not aware of just an RST update. I'll look, I still have the web page open up here. I'll take a look just to see, but I don't believe that it's offering. There's a management engine interface, qualified vendor list. Yeah, I don't see anything with regards to updating. There's a VGA update. It doesn't offer an Intel RST update. So if it's there, it's hidden in something else. Typically, that's part of the BIOS. They usually tack it on, so it does one and then the other one. There is a driver update for the Intel Rapid Storage technology. It's probably referring to the driver, the software and driver for Intel RST. So we're not using that. It doesn't apply to us. Now the machine has automatically turned itself off and is automatically turning itself back on again. Again, I'm not touching anything. Not touching you. I'm not touching you. It's doing it all on its own. Leave it be. Let it do what it needs to do. You will know when it's done. You don't have to wonder. It's turned itself back off again, and now it's turned itself back on again. So it's done that twice. This is normal. Do not panic. This is what it's supposed to do. Some motherboards do this, some motherboards don't. Some motherboards may do it 3 or 4 times. Leave it alone. There you go. It's starting to boot. It still may not be done, so stop. Don't touch anything yet. Now it says, there's a BIOS error. After setting up Intel Optane or RAID, SATA mode must be changed for known issues. All right, well, we're not using any of those settings. This is not normal. It should have just come up automatically, but it did instruct us to press F1 to continue, which I've done, which takes us back into the BIOS. Everything looks good in here. I don't see any problem with any of this. I will hit F7 to take me into advanced mode and just take a quick look to make sure we haven't changed our, lost AHCI or anything like that. Yeah, it all looks good. Everything's fine. So we should be able to just exit, save and exit. So save changes and reset, as ASUS calls it. Click OK, and that should clear that error, and that error should never come back again. In fact, I can go ahead and pull the BIOS flash drive. I'm done with it. I'll never use that BIOS update again. Again, something a little weird happened there. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm going to just sit and wait it out and see what happens. Perfect. Working just like it should. Beautiful. Now I can run Uncle Carey's Windows 10 Optimizer, which I have on this flash drive here. So we'll plug that in. Bring that up. I like to copy it to the desktop. I don't like to run it off the flash drive. So we'll just go over to the flash drive, find Uncle Carey's Windows 10 Optimizer down in the U's. There it is. We'll just drag it right out. Then I'll close this. Double click. Yes. I want everything that's automatically recommended, and hit apply. That's how hard that is to use. You will see access is denied in this list. That's just disabling indexing. That's normal. Some files are locked or in use. Doesn't matter. It's doing what it's supposed to do. Reset, and all the changes I want are done. You have any idea how much time that saves me? And I don't have to worry about, did I forget to change a setting, especially if I get interrupted. If there's a phone call or a knock on the door and I'm in the middle of optimizing Windows, I might forget where I left off. And it takes a lot more time. And because I do so much of this, that utility is a godsend for me. So my thanks for, like I said, the genius of Nick Shaw for creating that. And then I delete it. Once you've installed it, or once you've activated Uncle Carey's Windows 10 Optimizer, you can delete it. You're done with it. You shouldn't have to ever run it on the same machine twice. Though if you do a Windows 10 update, like to 1903, you might want to just double check to make sure Windows didn't reset any of your preferences. It's very quick. And you can run it on as many machines as you want. I only ask that you don't give it away to people for obvious reasons. But if you want to run it on other people's machines and delete it when you're done and empty the recycle bin so they don't have it, I would appreciate that. And I appreciate all your support to the channel. The money that's derived, I get a small percentage of it. Nick, D7X Tech gets the majority of it because they did all the work. But a small percentage of it does come back to me. It does go back into supporting the channel. And you'll see this PC icon is there. This is no longer hidden. If I go in the control panel, I get the, sorry, that's not the control panel. If I go in the control panel, just type in the word control. You'll see I have the familiar control panel. Once I learn how to spell, give me a second. C-O-N-T-R-O. Oh, I see what I did. Control panel. And I get that regular control panel up versus the limited one where everything's kind of buried in separate folders, if you will. That's my preference, but to me it's an optimization because I can get to what I need to get to quicker. Anyway, that along with, let's see, wants me to, sign in? No, thank you. Don't want to sign into Microsoft. That's done. I have to put the video card back in and the Wi-Fi card. You'll see Windows automatically activated. I didn't have to put a product key in because it was previously activated. The Windows servers, when we went to Windows Update, when we connected to the internet, the Windows servers, the activation servers said, we recognize this configuration, this specific motherboard was activated before. And because it recognized it, it reassigned the product key that was assigned to that motherboard at the time. And it all activated and happened automatically. That's why you do not need to enter the product key. Now, if you've never activated with Windows 10 before, you will have to enter the product key, but I recommend you do it after the install is complete. And you only need to do it once. They're mentioning I missed a contribution. Let's take a look. I hate it when I miss contributions. Wilkins Rojas contributed $5. He says, hey, from New Jersey, enjoy all your content. Keep up with the greatness. Thank you, Wilkins. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the channel. Yeah, everything looks good here. I like it. Let's go back to the main camera. So here we are. It's a repair done. We've been on for 1 hour and 37 minutes. Which I spent about 45 minutes talking before doing any work, and then another 45 minutes talking while doing work. It was a 45-minute fix. That involves updating the BIOS, diagnosing. Well, you saw it. You saw it all live. I had no idea what to expect. That's what happens when you're a working technician in the real world. You have no idea what to expect. It's your job to figure it out. I just have the guts or the stupidity to do it live on YouTube so people can tell me how stupid I am. Okay, so let's take that out, and let's take that out. We'll put the plug back into the HDMI because I don't want the customer plugging into that by mistake. And we'll remove the Ethernet and unplug power supply. Now that that's done, I can put this is a great Wi-Fi card. It's a 4-antenna, the ASUS 88U, which is about $100. And paired with a high-end router, this will go faster than some wired connections I've seen. Does look like they left plastic on it though. Not that that hurts anything, but I think it'll cool better. Looks like I missed that during the build, huh? Shame on me. I usually catch stuff like that. But again, it's not a big deal. It's more OCD than anything else. And that goes in there. Make sure that the retention lever is open for the graphics card. Don't try and install the graphics card with the retention lever closed. That locks in place. We'll put the 2 screws back into the graphics card to secure it. You know, I have yet to charge this battery on the screwdriver. I don't know how many months it's been. Oh, I'm down to one bar on my battery. It's still got strength. And on these lithium batteries, it's best to run them down a full 3 times between charges to get the longest life out of them. Put power back on the graphics card. It's all back together. Job done. So I'm going to plug it back in and turn it back on just to make sure it works. I've got to download and install the latest NVIDIA graphics driver on there as well. Remember, when I build a computer for a customer, it's ready for them to plug in and start using. You should not have to get any updates or drivers or anything. It's plug and play. That's what customers pay me to do. If you want to do stuff like that, you should build your own computer. Don't pay me to build it because I will take all the fun out of it for you. That's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy building and configuring the machines. That's part of my job. So if you want to do that, then you should build your own. That's all I'm saying. Looks like I dragged that down for some reason. I don't know how I did that. Okay, so now you'll see the graphics. Everything looks really big. That's because there's no driver installed yet for the graphics card. So I would normally go to NVIDIA and download the latest driver. I do believe I have the latest driver on this flash drive, which I should be able to just install. Right there, 43086, I think is the latest. And I can just run it right off the flash drive. So any questions you have with regards to the keyboard and mice that you see me use, a little flashlight, the screwdriver, this little Lazy Susan turntable thing, all of these things are listed in the video notes below the video. And things that you see on camera are in my Amazon shop. So if there's not a direct link to the specific product, go to the Amazon shop and everything's listed there. Now I do this for 2 reasons. One, I don't want to make my video notes. Well, that's weird. The screen went pink. I've never seen it do that. I don't want to make my video notes a mile long. And anytime you make a purchase from Amazon using any of my links that take you to Amazon, I make a small commission from it. And you don't pay any more, even if you don't buy the item that it's linked to. So in other words, if you click on one of my links that takes you to Amazon, and you're like, oh, that's interesting, and I don't want to buy that, but while I'm at Amazon, I do need to buy something else. While you're in that browser session, that specific browser session at Amazon, anything you purchase, I will make a small commission from. So it's a great way to support the channel, to buy things you're going to buy anyway at the prices you're going to pay anyway. Okay, so this failed, and it probably failed because it's installing the driver automatically. Windows 10 likes to do that. Let me reset. I don't know why everything went pink. That's really weird. That's really weird. I'm not sure what happened there. Might be a newer version of the driver anyway. Looks like somebody's 430.86. What version was I trying to install? I can't remember. Windows 10 Pepto Edition. I don't know why it turned pink. That was really weird. If that ever happens, you can always just right-click on your desktop anytime your themes change, and you can go to personalize. You've got to have an activated Windows to do it. You want themes, change the theme to Windows 10. Wow, everything went pink. That's disconcerting. Maybe I don't have the cable plugged in all the way. Yeah, funny how that'll do that. All you got to do is make sure your cables are plugged in all the way, ladies and gentlemen. It's rocket science here. It's what we're teaching. This guy's a genius. Yeah, it is 43086. You can only drag it out to the desktop here. Let's try it again. I'm hoping it didn't install the first time because Windows obviously was installing it in the background, which is how the NVIDIA driver icon shows up on the desktop. Let's just hope it works this time. Video goes blank because it's resetting the driver, it's replacing it. It's like trying to change a tire on a car in motion. The car has to come to a stop to get those tires off safely. I guess Colin Hilton was just in Florida. He's a British resident, and he made a little video on YouTube. And if you want to share that here, Colin, you're certainly welcome to put a link up to your YouTube channel for people who want to see what Colin did in Florida while he was here. Kind of fun to see a individual's experience in a foreign place if you're not from the US and you want to see what another person's experience was. And in Florida, in this case, those are often fun to watch. Again, the screen will blank out when the driver's installing, as I've already explained. Gringo is reminding me XMP is disabled. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it disabled. Honestly, I don't think there's really any benefit to enabling it for the way this computer is being used. It won't make any noticeable performance improvement. If we were going to use onboard video, it'd be a different story. So we're good here. I can delete the driver. Well, wait, I need to make sure it's all finished installing before I do that. Let's close this. And let's close that. And now we can delete this and empty that. Here we go, all done. C drive, lots of free space. The D drive is the USB flash drive. the optical drive, I can right click and choose eject. That works. Let's go ahead and shut this down. We'll eject the flash drive. And again, the Windows Security Center's got an exclamation. For OneDrive, I don't want OneDrive. The customer can set all this up once they get the computer. That's all security stuff, which I shouldn't be dealing with. Wouldn't be very secure, right? The customer's got to do it. And I've got a spare panel to replace the one that broke in shipping, a drive bay cover, as they call it. And I save them for just such an occasion. Because anytime I remove a drive bay cover, I usually throw it in the motherboard box so the customer has it in case they ever want to take the, whatever it is, like in this case, an optical drive, in case they ever want to take that out. So I'm just going to put that back on. And it just clicks in there. Voila, all done. So we're under 2 hours on that repair, 1 hour and 48 minutes. And like I said, I started it. It was a half an hour of me yapping before I even started to work. It's a pretty easy deal, pretty easy. Let's go ahead and shut this back down. And we'll go back over to a main input. All done. Does anybody have any questions for me? Otherwise, we're going to wrap up today's broadcast. And I think I'm going to celebrate with a Coke. That's what I'm going to do. Yes. Let me start putting some stuff away. Get that flashlight out of here. Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola. Feed my addiction. You know, you got a real problem when a regular bottle opener just won't do. Got to have a special one just for Coca-Cola. Can't use this to open a Sprite, even if it's a Coke product. No, no, no. No, it's got to be the right job, the right tool for the job. They should be giving me some money, shouldn't they? Coca-Cola should pay me. Brian Larson's contributed $2. He says, okay, I learned something. Have a Coke and a smile. Folks, please be nice to each other in the chat room. If you want to say something negative about somebody, please just don't say anything at all. If two people start going at it, both people get banned. So I would appreciate that you understand it takes two, and that you're not one of those two, and I'll take care of the other one. I wanted to see if I can give you a little preview of what's coming up with Brian over at $300 Data Recovery. I have to find the video though. Data Recovery, there's my Data Recovery folder. Let's see if I can share this with you. Let's add a new VLC video. Do not want to loop it. Which file do I want? 77. Browse to file 77. Now this is raw video.
Hi, my name's Brian Cometa, and I'm the owner and lead technician at $300 Data Recovery. Today we're going to talk about some of the myths and misconceptions about data recovery.
Did you get that? Did you see it? Let's do it again. Whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name's Brian Cometa, and I'm the owner and lead technician at $300 Data Recovery. Today we're going to talk about some of the myths and misconceptions about data recovery.
Pretty cool, right? So that's a little taste of what's coming. Brian's look has changed a little bit over the years. I always enjoy spending time with Brian and his whole crew over there at $300 Data Recovery. They're just great folks to be around, great attitude. Everybody looks like it appears that they love what they do. Nobody's, I don't know, biding their time with negativity, spitting venom about how horrible everything. They're all just, they look like they really enjoy their work. And I think they're the highest rated data recovery company on Yelp anywhere in the world. Now, that being said, I want to remind you, this is not a paid sponsorship. There's no money exchanging hands between Brian and myself. I like him. I like what he's doing as a service to the community. I really appreciate that he shares his knowledge on data recovery. A lot of data recovery folks in the industry like to keep the information to themselves, like a magician. They don't want to show you the tricks and how easily they're done. Brian's very open and honest with his information. And it's cool to, in the background, you see all the monitors going. It's a very nerdy place to be. And I feel very at home there. So with that being said, I'll be editing, or I'll have my sister do some editing on that video. And I can't wait to show you some of the information. It's one thing to hear from a hobbyist or an enthusiast, once again, the vast majority of which are the YouTube channels that you see. It's another thing to hear from a professional in the industry. And I always want you to consider any information you get on the internet. I want you to consider the source of where that information came from. It's very important. I'm not a data recovery specialist, which is why even I, with almost 30 years in this business, would go to somebody like Brian, who's been doing this data recovery for 10 years. He knows way, way more than I do on that subject. On the other hand, when Brian's having a hardware problem with his computer, I could help him, right? So it's all about not being a person that knows everything. There's a specialty that I have, there's a specialty that he has, there are specialties that you have. And while I'm a big fan of DIY, data recovery is far, far too important to mess with yourself. If it's important enough to recover it, it's probably important enough you don't mess around with it, but to each their own. And that being said, people said the audio was really loud in the clip. Okay, yeah, I imagine it probably was, because OBS controls audio separately for every input, and I left it at default, so I apologize for that. But I'm glad the audio was good, because when I'm remote like that, I can't tell if the audio is coming out well or not. So anyway, if you guys have any final questions for me for today, I'll be happy to address them. Bob the Bomb just contributed £2. He said that's for Jimmy and Lyle's cookie fund. Right on. Thanks, Bob. I appreciate that very much. I think Lyle and Jimmy appreciate it more. Yeah, so any final technical questions that you have, I'll do my best to address, and then we're going to wrap it up for today. There's some great sales going on. I think I saw a 2 terabyte, 2.5-inch ADATA SSD on sale today for $186 at Newegg. And the Intel 1 terabyte drive, the NVMe drive, I think is down to $93. Some stuff going on at Newegg today, pretty good deals. Jordan says, I have a computer problem. When I boot up to Windows 10, it stays in a boot loop, and it did that after the recent update. Unfortunately, a boot loop is sort of, yeah, you thought Fruit Loops were bad. A boot loop is too many possibilities for me to really give you anything useful here other than to try and enter safe mode and run the Windows Restore to go back before remove the update. Superman G just posted a link for Colin Hilton's vacation video. Check it out. It's real. I like real stuff. You know, it's not a polished tourist tourism bureau video. It's a real person's vacation, and it's part of the world many of you may have never seen. Electronics are my thing. Please shout out, I love your vids. There you go. Carey, if you scan in Device Manager, you will find new updates. All updates happen automatically for Windows Update. You don't have to scan anything in Device Manager. Carey, Wi-Fi card driver are you installing, or is Windows? I will install the ASUS Wi-Fi card driver because it's such a high-end Wi-Fi card. I want to make sure it has the best driver available. I do rely on Windows updates for basic drivers, things like built-in Ethernet and things like that, but I don't rely on it for graphics card drivers or other uncommon hardware, which in this case, people don't often add Wi-Fi cards. So I will download the latest version of the ASUS 88U PCIe network adapter, and I will install that afterwards. Carey, is UEFI just for an M.2 drive, or can it be used on an SSD? UEFI is available for any boot media, hard drive, solid state drive, SATA, or NVMe. It is an option that's only available in machines for about the last 6 or 8 years. So if you bought an like a bottom of the line machine 6 or 8 years ago, probably doesn't have it. But anything newer than that, not only should it have it, it should be defaulted to that. Minty Fresh says $300 is a crazy good price for data recovery. I've seen it as high as $1,800. Oh, for sure. Now the way that $300 data recovery does it, I think, is very fair. They charge $300 for a drive up to 2 terabytes. Because remember, 10 years ago, there wasn't such a thing as a drive bigger than that. But he's not altered the price from 10 years ago. And if it's more than 2 terabytes, it's an extra $100. If you have a RAID array, that price applies to every drive in the array. Now, if you have to have a head swap, things like that, where a donor drive is required, you may need to pay for a donor drive. And head swaps are not a guarantee. However, one of the things Brian does that I think is pretty unique is if they cannot get a minimum of 99% of your data back, you can back out. You don't have to pay the $300. You can pay a $100 labor fee, and he'll send you the drive back, and you just walk separate ways. You go separate ways. Like if he's only able to get 87% of your data, he'll tell you, I can only get 87% of your data. Would you like me to continue that with the fees we agreed upon? Or do you want me to stop and you can pay $100 for what the work I've done and we'll call it quits? Who else does that? You know, the amount of investment that Brian has in equipment probably exceeds $250,000. Every time I go there, he's got more and more equipment. Little portable clean room devices, soldering units, deballers, the PC3000, that's like $10,000 or $15,000. He's got like 8 of them. Then there's software that you have to pay for. That's just the hardware. Then there's the software you have to pay for. There's cloning software. There's recovery software. He's got a Ninja, a data recovery Ninja, which I have in my office, and every time I've used it, it doesn't work. I think I'm going to give it to Brian the next time I see him. It'll feel good that somebody will use it. And even Brian says it's a terrible recovery device. I paid $1,000 for it. It's never recovered anything. But I also don't know what the heck I'm doing, and I don't get enough customers asking me to do recovery. And quite frankly, it wouldn't make sense for me, unless I wanted to do data recovery for a living, to invest into the equipment required to do it. Because just to do it for $300 like Brian does, I'd have to do 10 jobs just to break even on the cost of the equipment, not to mention the time learning. So if I'm not getting any now, or I get them very infrequently, it just makes better sense to just tell the customer, send it off the $300 data recovery. And don't stick it in a padded envelope, you know? Put it in a box. If you care about your data and it's a mechanical hard drive, you put it in a box in an anti-static bag with 2 inches of packing material all the way around it. If you drop that hard drive in an envelope and mail it to him, it'll probably be destroyed by the post office. I'm just saying, you've been warned. And I couldn't believe the number of customers I saw coming and going from $300 data recovery while I was there. One guy was walking out. Brian and I were standing outside of the shop, and a customer walked out, recognized me and Brian. He said, I've watched your videos, and that's how I learned about this service. And he said to Brian, he didn't even speak to me, like I didn't exist. He said, you guys are amazing. The work you do here is incredible. Your communication is great. Your prices are great. And I was like, as soon as he walks away, I look at Brian, I go, the camera was off. David M has contributed £2. Wild One has contributed 10 Australian dollars. He says, great stream again, Carey. Thanks again, and cheers from Australia. Love your channel. Here's to some more continued support. Well, g'day, Wild One. Thank you very much. Cheers. If you guys are looking to have a computer parts list put together for you, I charge $125 to have a one-on-one phone consultation or Skype or however we have to communicate. It takes about an hour and a half to figure out everything you're looking for, what your budget is, blah, blah, blah. If you're looking for a free parts list recommendation because you want to build it yourself, Catherine Anna Hauserman, who you'll see in blue in the chat room, puts together amazingly well thought out parts lists for the sheer enjoyment of doing it. That's how twisted she is. All she wants in return is a thank you. Honestly, she doesn't ask for it. I'm the one telling you. Thank her. Don't be demanding with her. Don't push her. Don't tell her to do it faster. If you want a good parts list, she has a process, and it will not disappoint you. And if you don't like it, ask for a refund, because she does it for free. So even if you don't like something, you can still say thank you because you got it for free, and she did more for you than you've done for her, and that's enough. So you can reach out to her both here in live chat, or you can find her on Facebook, and she'll be happy to put a parts list together for you. She's just sick and twisted that way. Reviewing, Playing, and More RPM says, I saw someone that paid $3,000 to retrieve their business data because they chose to have used hard drives that were over 3 years old already from user. Yeah. I mean, there's countless stories like that. We have some great advice also coming in from many of the chat participants. So if I don't get to your question, consider what some of the other chat participants are suggesting, because I do see that's the whole point of a community. It's not that you all have to come to me, but you can talk to each other and you can help each other. And that's what community is all about. And maybe someday you'll be able to help that person back, you know? So I can't read everything happening in the chat room at all times. There's a lot of people in there, and things scroll pretty quickly. So I'm not intentionally ignoring anybody, but other chat participants will see your message. They will respond to you, and whatever they say is worthy of consideration. Carey, I believe you are so nice for giving all this information for free. I have a computer that says boot manager is missing. That's typically the sign of a failed hard drive. When a hard drive dies, that's usually a message you'll get. Also, you know, without knowing what happened the last time it was working, you know, when was the last time it was working and what was the last thing you were doing? If it was a Windows update and then suddenly it's not working, you could have a corrupt boot file, not boot file, but a corrupt boot manager. I dealt with that here in previous videos where I walked through that whole process, although I couldn't tell you what the name of the video was. What do I think of 1903 so far? Windows 10 1903 is my favorite so far of all the Windows 10s. It seems like everything's faster, more responsive. I just like it. I like it a lot. What about the police department that got their ransomware and paid the person and never got their data back? I've not heard that one. Though, every police department story I've heard, if you've got a link, please share it. But the one that sticks is there was a police department that got ransomware, and they paid, they did everything they could to not pay it. And time was ticking, and I think it was the sheriff, whoever, chief of police, reluctantly paid it. And once they got their key and decrypted all their data, that chief then rescinded his payment somehow, thinking he was going to outmaneuver the hackers. And I don't want to talk poorly of police. I support the police, but they are not computer people. I've never met a police officer in my life that was technically savvy beyond that of an average user. Not saying they don't exist, just never seen it. Never seen it, never heard of it, ever in my life. So I think the first mistake the police chief made in this circumstance was to think he was going to outsmart a hacker with technology. He could probably outsmart him if it was a traditional crime that they deal with and have experience with, but not on a tech crime. Needless to say, the hacker re-encrypted their files and tripled their price. So then the chief had no choice but to pay triple the amount. I am bet that just keeps him up at night every single day. And there's nothing he can do about it. But they did get the data back. But many police departments, at least 8 police departments in the United States that have at least publicized their, because they don't want to publicize it. They're embarrassed. They want to keep that stuff hidden. Have paid the ransom and they have gotten the data back. Many hospitals, some hospitals were completely shut down until they paid the ransom. Some small towns where the whole town is shut down. Even the police department, everything gets shut down. Everything has to be done by hand. There's no excuse for this. Backup should be kept offline. And it's a shame that the people in charge lack the technical skill to make the decisions of how to hire somebody with technical skill. Like if you walk into an interview and the person who's interviewing you doesn't understand what you're saying, but you know all the good buzzwords, you got the job. So it's just the blind following the blind. And then stuff like this happens, it should be unacceptable. But how do you hire somebody to do a technical job when you don't have the technical knowledge to know what to look for in somebody to do the technical work? That's the problem in government. This happens all the time through government in the United States. And in many corporations and small businesses, they just hire the cheapest person. And they pay a lot more in the long run. And I'm not talking about a lot more in labor with regards to the tech. Where they're paying is in lost productivity. What they're paying is in having to work by hand and slow the whole efficiency and optimization and performance of the entire function of the department, or in this case, all of city functions, come to a crawl. And then once all that paperwork's been done, somebody has to enter that paperwork by hand into the computer. And you can't do that until the computers are clean and ready to be used again. Not to mention any evidence files for upcoming court cases, which are locked up in those court cases that have to be dismissed. They don't have any evidence anymore. So you have to pay the ransom. But you need to have offline backups. They need to be made regularly, especially if you're a municipality or a hospital. The fact that they're not doing it, and if they don't know by now, they're just idiots. I'm sorry, but they have it coming. And they need to pay until they learn their lessons. This is a problem that will continue to get worse. If you think the cost of education is expensive, the cost of not being educated is even more expensive, and that's what this proves. Do any of the mods know how to pay the $125 to get on Carey's list? If you want to talk to me, if you want a personal one-on-one consultation with me, what I need you to understand is when this channel first started out and I had a handful of viewers, we could all talk and it was all good. We could go to Google Hangouts and hang out. The side effect of getting bigger is that it's impossible for me to do that now. But if I didn't get bigger, if I stayed that small, you still wouldn't have found me and you still wouldn't know I exist. So the consequence of becoming popular is I become harder to reach. My priority is always to a customer. A customer is somebody who pays me. I enjoy doing these YouTube videos for free and ensuring that everybody around the world, regardless of age, gender, religion, race, if they want this information, it's there for them. But if somebody pays me, you have my attention one-on-one, you are now a customer and you are a priority to me. How do you pay me? You would go to the donate button at tech-vets.com. Tech Vets is a podcast that myself and Mike Smith do. Mike runs his own computer repair business. I run my own computer repair business. And we run two different kinds of businesses with two different kinds of customers. And we see things two entirely different ways. He is neither wrong nor right, and I am neither wrong nor right. We can often have very opposing viewpoints, and it allows the listener to choose which one is best for them, which one aligns with their thoughts or their needs, or maybe to find a comfortable middle, kind of put you on the path anyway. And at tech-vets.com, so tech and then the minus, and VETS, we're veterans of technology. Mike and I together have over 50 years combined experience in the IT industry, and we like to share it. Mike does the Mike Tech Show every single week. He's been doing it for 500 plus weeks. And you can go back and listen to those shows where he shares real in the trenches stories, both in corporate America and as being self-employed. Now, we don't do that many Tech Vets a year. We try and get one done every few months, but we've been doing it for 10 years, not going anywhere. At tech-vets.com in the upper right, well, this will be your right, the upper right, you'll see a donate button. Hit that donate. I request $125 as a flat rate. And that means I'm going to spend as much time on the phone or with you as I need to accomplish whatever it is we're out to accomplish. It's not hourly. If I can't help you, I just refund your money. Either way, I want you to be happy that you were satisfied with what you got. Even if it means, sorry, this isn't going to work out, here's your money back. The reason I do that is I get a lot of people who are just lonely. They want somebody to talk to. They want to they want to reach out. They want to say, hey, I like your videos and all that. And it's great and it's wonderful, but I just don't have time to just go through and have these personal conferences with everybody. There's not enough hours in the day. And especially when there's customers holding cash going, Carey, TikTok, I got to go help them before they go, you know what? I'm tired of waiting. I'm going to go wave this money at somebody else. So I have to prioritize those people. And if I took care of everybody wanting help for free, then where's the incentive for anybody to ever pay me? And how is it fair to the people who are saying, I've got hard-earned cash I'm willing to give you for your time? And why are you making me wait to give your time to somebody who's not giving you anything back? That's not fair to them. It's certainly not fair to me. So I hope you understand why that process is in place. I have no employees. It's just me. So I'm the cameraman. I'm the script writer. I'm the talent. I'm the dishwasher. I'm the dog feeder, and there's just so many hours in the day. And I'm flattered when people want to talk to me because I grew up with somebody who didn't have any friends. I was very much ostracized, and it means the world to me if you'd have told me, and I want you to think about this really carefully, especially if you're young and you're having a hard time. If you would have told me, in time, you'll have friends all over the world in the thousands, I'd look at you like, yeah, that sounds nice. Wouldn't that be great? It's what I dreamed of. So thank you guys for that. But please understand, there's just one of me. That's all I'm asking. And it's a good problem to have. I'd like to see the channel continue to grow, and as the channel continues to grow, it's a problem that's going to get worse. I'm handling it the best I can, and I hope you understand that. So, when people want me to build a computer for them, it's the same process. They submit the 125. Somebody says, well, I just want a parts list. Well, the parts list is the hardest part of the whole thing. It's talking to you and getting to know what your needs and expectation and budget are. It takes a lot of research and go back and forth. That's where the majority of the labor is. If you want me to build it, I use that $125 to pay for the shipping of that computer to you in the United States only. And whatever, if there's anything left over from that $125 from shipping, sometimes there could be anywhere from $40 to $5. Sometimes it costs me money. Depends how heavy the computer is and how far it's being shipped. That's the profit I make. So how do I earn any money? Well, I make a video. I show people how to build the computer using the parts you bought. And I earn money, a small amount of money, but over a long period of time. So it adds up by making content. And that's where the profit's coming from. It's not coming from your $125. Like I said, I'm not shipping the computer for free. I wish. So I'm not getting rich off of that, but not financially. I'm getting rich from it emotionally, and I'm getting rich from it through experience. But it's also making great content for other viewers and adding to my library. So it works out for me. That's the business model I'm experimenting with. And it's been an experiment going on now for many, many years. I haven't given up on it yet. And I hope it makes sense to you. I think it's very fair. Let's take a look. Final shout out to everybody who's contributed during today's stream. Sharon Idle has contributed £1.02. Thank you, Sharon. Wild One, David Emmy, Bob the Bomb, Space Lord, Brian Larson, Wilkins Rojas, Winston Anglu, Bill Ottinger, Mike Britton, G. White, Lurchicus, who had contributed $10. He says, it's been a while, Carey. Have some money, and as always, I continue to love your content. Thank you, Lurchicus. Bill Ottinger again. John Peck, Alan Butterfield, Tom Jackson, Gerard DeMonte, Justin Gaskill, Destry Rainsier, Matt Foster, John Craig, John Yasuda, Stephen Barber, Steve Devine, Michael Dane, Donnie Seeger, Madi Yoel, Space Lord, Zarian Art, Chester Hughes, The Circuit Wizard, Heinrich Anderson, Michael Lee, Michael Collis, Scott McFarlane, and Tony Wallow. Thank you guys so much again for your continued support of the channel. And of course, to the packages that arrived, like I said, Alan, I'll get your book signed. The postcards that came from England from Ronald, thank you for those and the picture of your build. Thank you, of course, to Jason for all the SSDs, and to John Wilson for the expensive professional Sennheiser wireless mic kit, which is going to really help when I have folks like Mitch and other guests in interviews going on. It's almost perfecting all the equipment. You'll notice I do have a wish list for production equipment I want. Most of that's all been resolved. There's only like 3 items on there now. So there's other ways, like I say, to contribute. Either doing super chat, using the donate button I mentioned at TechVets just to support the channel. You can go to CareyHolzman.com where I've got merch. I never wanted to sell merch. I want to be clear on that. Never wanted to do it. Everybody's asking for t-shirts and coffee mugs and things like that. So I said, fine, I'm going to do it. So that's available if you want to order case badges, the bumper stickers, all that's at CareyHolzman.com. We have a few slots where you can pay. I think it's, I'd have to look at what the price is. We have a few slots where you can pay where the money goes to support the veterans, where you can have a consultation with me. It's not the traditional $125. This is something different. And I think we have 10 spots a month. CareyHolzman.com. I just can't remember. My sister controls this page. A phone call with Carey, proceeds go to future computer giveaways is $50. That's a generic, that's not an hour-and-a-half phone call. That's not me talking to you about a computer build. That's you saying, hey, I just want to call you and talk to you. I just want to, I don't know, say hello or whatever. That not just hello, but, 20-minute conversation maybe. We have a couple of large vinyl stickers, the Go Faster stickers, case badges. Everything's cheap up there. Like I said, the most expensive thing is the phone call with me, and I limit those to 10 a month because there's only so many hours that I can do that. But it goes to a good cause. Paul, 1961's contributed $2 Canadian is always the best. Thank you. And reviewing, playing, and more RPM contributed $5 Canadian, says have a Coke on me. Thank you. I will have another disabled American veterans computer to give away and a laptop. I'm going to try and get those done this week at some point, but I never say when. I really want them to go to members of the community, not to just strangers coming in for a free computer. And then once those are gone, then I'll get on the horn with the folks over at Second Chance IT and see what kind of deal we can swing. Start all over again, because we got lots of parts to use that were shipped not only by Jason here, but by others as well. So I'm probably sitting on a stack of 20 or 30 SSDs, which is great. I love you guys for that. Anything I can do to reduce my expenses, I really need to talk to the folks at FedEx and see if they can help me out a little bit. Some of these computers are costing as much to ship as they're worth, which is affecting how many I can give away, right? If I have to spend that much money to just ship a computer, that could have been a whole nother computer. It saddens me that I'm helping one person at the cost of not being able to help another. So I got to resolve that issue. And with that, thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you to Madi for sending the computer in and letting me take a look at it. It's always a learning experience for me to see, you know, what customers do with their machines or what it takes. Every machine that comes in for repair, it's always different, always different. This one certainly met that criteria. I believe it's ready, you know, with a few exceptions of, you know, updating the wireless drivers. It's ready to get boxed up and sent back. And I'll talk with Madi later just to double check and confirm if there's anything else he wants me to do while I have it. Mike Britton has contributed $5. He says, have a great evening from all of us in God's waiting room. Keep going, Carey. Right on, Mike. Thank you guys so much. What do I have going on tomorrow? Something's happening tomorrow. I can't remember what it is, but I think I'll be live tomorrow. Wednesday, I've got a pretty serious dental appointment going on, and I don't know if I'll just be drooling the whole time from numbness. If I feel good, I'll do a video. If I don't feel good, I won't. And then Thursday and Friday, I intend to do videos then. I try to run my videos daily from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. I got a later start today than normal, and I'm also ending a little earlier than normal. I'm trying to make the videos, you know, a more reasonable length than 4 and 5 hours like they sometimes are. But I do enjoy the back and forth and the interactive nature of YouTube, and including you guys going back and forth. So thank you guys again for joining me. I will see you all again very, very soon. Thanks to all of the friends in blue, keeping everything civil in the chat room. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Until tomorrow, bye for now.